Hey guys, we are back at Murkwater Construction Site, and today we are going to be building a cemetery that's home to a couple of raiders, as well as a pair of hidden bunkers. I had a lot of fun putting this together, and I think it turned out really cool. So let's get started, shall we? So once again, we're going to be using the Homemaker mod, and we're just going to place down some foundations to create the footprint for the bunker that we're going to be building today. So here we are just fleshing out the main structure of the bunker, and the idea is that it's going to have an exterior door and then an interior door before you actually get into the bunker itself. And just using the Homemaker mod here again to kind of make it look like the idea is that it's a pre-war structure, and then the raiders built on top of it. So I wanted to use a tile set that was not in the vanilla game, and so we're using the Homemaker mod to build a more established structure that then a kind of junk structure was built on top of. Now you can see I've been using the half floors to kind of just space out where I wanted the hallway there for the doorways, and then the walls can just snap right onto it. Now every once in a while you see that house there that just kind of, or that wall that just pops up from the previous structure. It only seems to do that when I'm in the workshop mode, so it's not that big of a deal. Just weird. So now we're going to go ahead and put the roof on, and on this particular bunker we're going to have it stick out a little bit to kind of create a little bit of a, I don't know, I don't want to say patio, but a little entryway, I guess you would say. Just a matter of snapping these on. Nice. Now I'm going to go ahead and add some supports for this overhang. Now I am using these pillars from a mod called Snap and Build. Unfortunately, this mod is no longer available, so I try not to use too many assets from it, but the pillars just fit the mausoleum theme. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So now we're going to go ahead and use the Select All glitch to move the entire structure into place. And it's just a matter of lining it up so it's near the edge of the settlement, and it's also not glitching or being blocked by any of the trees. You can see there's a tree in the way. Just going to slide that over a little bit. Nice. So we're back to the Homemaker mod to grab the door. Now that this door was kind of the inspiration for this build. It definitely looks like a tomb, and it just slides away to reveal the bunker that we have hidden inside. Now it's just a matter of lining it up with the walls and getting it so it doesn't clip through too much. Now because this is a mausoleum, we want it to be a little more fancy with the roof. So the Homemaker mod has this trim that just kind of snaps into place. It ends up looking pretty good. Now even after placing down the trim here, we still have that gap there because there's no wall around the entryway we created earlier. I'm just going to go ahead and use Place Everywhere to kind of line this up and get rid of that gap. Just gotta get that to line up perfectly. Nice. Now we're going to go ahead and go around and just use Place Everywhere to line up the next piece or two, and then the rest of them should just snap into place. Now that we have the pre-war structure done, we can go ahead and work on the junk raider structure. And we're going to take one of these junk walls here and then close off that gap partially with one of these half walls from the Homemaker mod, and just create a little sleeping area with a little bit of protection. Just have to make sure that the wall doesn't clip too much with the pillar or the floor. Nice. Now on the roof, we're going to go ahead and do something very similar, and we're just going to use these junk walls here to kind of create a makeshift structure, and just going to take several junk walls to line up. We just want to make sure we get the posts kind of glitched into each other so it looks like they're connected. Then we're going to go ahead and use the same technique for the roof here, and just using the beams here to line them up, we can actually make it look like it's just one long piece. Just a matter of getting it so it glitches completely flush. It looks like we got it there. So now we just have to close off the rest of this structure, and we're going to go back to the Homemaker mod and use these slightly taller walls. They're the same basic textures as the vanilla walls. They're just a little bit taller. They're used for multi-story structures. Just a matter of glitching it in so it's not clipping through the floor. And then we're going to go ahead and put another wall here on the front and leave it partially open, just so we have an entryway. I mean, these raiders, they're used to living in close proximity with the other raiders, so there's not a ton of privacy here. And it's going to be a little bit angled, but that's fine. Just got to close off those gaps. And looks like we need to move the roof over a little bit as well. Looks good. Now that we have some housing complete, we just need a walkway to get over to the other mausoleum there. So I figured, we can use some wooden boards and we can make it look a little extra junky with some plyboards. But we are going to need a step to get over this trim that we put on. So once again, we're going to go ahead and use these wooden crates that I like so much. They're just really versatile, and I don't know, they work pretty good. Of course, here I was trying to use the curved plyboard that I really like as well, but it just kind of made it stick out a little bit too much, and I am going to be putting another makeshift structure up here. So we're just going to use the crates to just make, a stairs out of those. So with the other side done, we can go ahead and work on this side. And we're going to go ahead and use one of these shack bridges. Now, in my last video, I talked about a mod that actually allows them to snap to the floorboards, which we used on the previous structure we built. And it works really well, and it kind of, adds a little more junky feel to the walkway we're making here. And we're just going to have to use a floorboard here, just because the shack bridge wasn't quite long enough, and I didn't want to have another one sticking out that far, into the buildable area up here. And then we're just going to support that board with some of these crates. Just a matter of lining it up so they don't glitch through too much. Now for the stairway on this side, we're going to go ahead and use the pallet technique that we used in the last video for the bus structure. And we're just going to go ahead and put these underneath one of those curved plyboards, just to help us get on top of the walkway there. Just a matter of lining them up. Perfect. So we have one last walkway we need to build, and I wanted to create a walkway that kind of fit in with the theme that we've established here at this settlement, like in the previous video where we had bridges going in between the trees and in between the structures, and I just wanted a way for settlers to walk around the settlement without actually having to be on the ground. And I remembered seeing a video from Stacy over at Stacy Plays where she created a rope bridge using conduits and wire. So that's what we're going to go ahead and replicate here. So the basic technique is that you place down a set of 4 conduits, and then you go ahead and use the wire glitch to connect them together. And then you take these, I guess they're wall conduits, and you just place them along the wires so they kind of glitch in together, and it just looks like a rope bridge. It actually ends up working really, really well. You can see right there, it kind of looks like planks that are, tethered to this rope. I'm just kind of demonstrating the main technique here. The kind of essential part is that you get the wires placed the right distance apart. So you will have to use place everywhere to kind of move the conduits once the wire's attached, just so you can see exactly where to place the planks. And then I go ahead and sink the conduits down a little bit so you can't really see where they are. And then it kind of glitches right into the wire. And then you just repeat along the path. So here we are at the final tour, and I figured we'd start at that rope bridge there. And you can see you can actually walk across it. Now the settlers can't actually walk across it, but it does look really cool. And here we are at that first mausoleum area. You can see here we have a little lounge area out here. And of course there's a laser turret there for some protection, just in case the prisoner escapes or there's any enemies in the middle of the settlement. You can see here we have raiders and their quirky sense of humor with some human remains there. Of course there's some chems and alcohol. Now over here, in between these two stacks of pallets, it looks like we have some bowling with skulls. Those guys are definitely pretty sadistic. And then over here we have a little cooking area, and we have one of our raiders prepping a meal. Looks like they have an awful lot of meat. And then off in this corner here, we have a little sniper's nest. You can see there's some jet for a battle. Looks like he has some ammo and a rifle sitting out, with a great view of the road leading up to the cemetery there. Now let's take a look at the housing on the other side of this bridge. I really like the way this bridge looks. Just walk on up, and I went ahead and added some plyboards just to kind of make it look a little bit more junky, kind of break up the texture a little bit as well. Here we have another laser turret, and of course you have some teddy bears. Those raiders have a really odd sense of humor. Now this is that other makeshift structure that I put together. I used very similar technique to the other structure that we showed off, so I didn't feel the need to show you guys exactly how to do this one. Now I also made that table using Thematic and Practical. They have tires and plyboards, and I just stacked the plyboards on top of the tires. Now what Raider dungeon would be complete without some Raider power armor? And of course we have the boss's quarters here. You have some ammo and alcohol laid out. Of course you have a end of dungeon chest. Got a few melee weapons here next to his bed. Of course there's some chems. And it looks like a rocket launcher on a dresser. Why not? These raiders are definitely very well armed. Almost makes you wonder what they're protecting. So with the tops of the mausoleum pretty well explored, let's take a closer look at the cemetery. So here we are on the ground floor in the cemetery. As we approach the mausoleums, you can see all the raider decoration, some of the spikes there, and of course some meat bags with some fresh kills. And as we approach the first mausoleum here, we can go ahead and open that doorway to reveal the bunker inside. Now over here we have a synth reclamation chair, which kind of explains all the firepower that the raiders have. And of course a courser here. Access the keypad, and let's take a look inside. Now here we have Edward with his synth guard. Now Edward did not agree with the way Father was running the Institute. He felt that the Institute should rule the Commonwealth, not hide from it. And so over the years he's been sneaking equipment away and just stockpiling things here so he can continue his research. And when the Institute fell, he escaped and came here. Now, Edward worked with the Synth Retention Bureau, so he had access to coursers that he could send all over the Commonwealth, and that's how he was able to reclaim synths for himself, as well as hide equipment here. And you can see he has some biochem stuff, as well as components he's been able to scavenge and just continue his research. Now, this is the first bunker. Let's take a look at what he has hidden away in the second bunker. Yeah, I really like the way that mausoleum looks with the raider decoration and the junk walls and fences, kind of creating a little, makeshift living area. Here we have a synth raider. Now, all of the raiders in this settlement are actually synths that have been reclaimed. They kind of are his eyes and ears and just protect the bunkers there, make sure they remain hidden. Of course, we have another courser guarding this bunker. And a different keypad. You can see this one's blue. Just in case one's compromised, you can't get to the other one. And here we have the armory. As you can see, we have quite a bit of weapons on the wall here. Some components and ammo on the shelving unit here in the corner. Now, I went ahead and used Place Everywhere to put all of those weapons on the display racks there. Normally, you can only fit one. Here we have a weapons workbench and an armor workbench. And then, of course, there's some Institute heavy weapons that Edward was able to develop. Then up against the back wall here, we have a trio of Gen 1 synths ready for deployment. And of course, there's an XO1 suit of power armor in the process of being refurbished. Doesn't even have Institute paint yet. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like. Drop me a comment below if you have any thoughts on this build or any of my other builds. Or if you have any ideas on where my next build should be. Subscribe if you want to be notified when my next video goes live. That should be a final tour here at Murkwater. I also need to do the final tour over at Oberland Station, and then I think back to finish up Starlight. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, and until then, enjoy your time in the Commonwealth.